The rain was relentless, hammering the black umbrellas like a drum roll for the dead. But it was nothing compared to the storm brewing in my heart. My fiancé, Tom, stood beside me, his face a mask of grief as we watched his father's coffin sink into the earth. I thought the worst pain was losing someone you love until I caught his mother, Linda, rifling through my purse in the shadow of the funeral home. It was supposed to be a day of mourning, a sacred pause to honor Robert, Tom's dad, who had been more of a father to me than my own. Robert was the kind of man who made everyone feel like family, always quick with a joke or a warm hug. His sudden heart attack at 62 left us all reeling, and I clung to Tom, trying to anchor him through the loss. The funeral was packed neighbors, co-workers, even strangers whose lives Robert had touched. I stood by the grave, my black dress clinging to my skin in the damp chill, whispering prayers for a man who deserved better than this cold goodbye. Linda, though, seemed more interested in my purse than her late husband's eulogy. I'd left it on a chair inside the funeral parlor, thinking it safe among family. I was wrong. During the service, I stepped away to comfort Tom's sister, Emily, who was sobbing so hard she could barely stand. That's when I saw her Linda, her perfectly manicured nails flipping through my wallet like it was a magazine. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, didn't hold a trace of the grief she'd been performing all day. I froze, my breath catching as she slipped my credit card into her pocket, her lips curling into a smug little smile. I wanted to scream, to storm over and demand answers. But the weight of the day held me back. This was Robert's funeral, not a place for confrontation. I bit my lips so hard I tasted blood and turned back to Emily, pretending I hadn't seen. But the image burned into me, my future mother-in-law, a woman I'd tried so hard to please, stealing from me while her husband's body was still warm. Tom and I had been engaged for 6 months, and Linda had never warmed to me. She was all smiles in public, but her comments cut like knives, little jabs about my small-town upbringing or how I wasn't quite right for her son. I'd brushed it off, chalking it up to a protective mother. But this was betrayal on a level I couldn't fathom. I kept quiet through the rest of the funeral, my mind racing. How could someone stoop so low, and what else was she capable of? That night, back at Tom's apartment, I checked my bank account. My stomach dropped. 3 charges, $200 at a boutique, $150 at a spa, $75 at a restaurant, all posted that afternoon. I showed Tom, my hands shaking. His face went pale, then red with fury. She wouldn't, he said, but his voice wavered. He knew her better than anyone, and Linda had a history of bending morals to suit her needs. There was the time she'd borrowed money from Tom's college fund for a new car, promising to pay it back. She never did. Or the way she'd manipulated Robert into selling his beloved cabin because she wanted a bigger house. Tom had always excused her, saying she was just complicated, but this was different. I couldn't let it go. The next day, I called the bank and reported the charges as fraud. They froze the card and promised an investigation, but I knew it wouldn't be enough. Linda needed to face what she'd done. I told Tom we had to confront her, and though he hesitated, he agreed. We drove to her house, a pristine suburban mansion that screamed money she didn't have. Linda answered the door in a silk robe, her face a perfect mask of surprise. "What a lovely visit," she chirped, but her eyes darted to my purse, and I swear I saw a flicker of guilt. We sat in her living room, surrounded by photos of Robert, his kind eyes watching us. I didn't waste time. "Linda, I saw you take my credit card at the funeral," I said, my voice steady despite the knot in my chest. Her face froze, then twisted into a laugh. "Oh, sweetheart, you must be mistaken. Why would I do something like that?" Tom shifted beside me, his jaw tight. I pulled out my phone and showed her the bank statement, the charges glaring like evidence in a courtroom. Her smile faltered, but she doubled down. "This is ridiculous. You're accusing me at a time like this. My husband just died." Tom finally spoke, his voice low and dangerous. "Mom, stop. I know how you are. Did you do this? The room went silent, the air thick with tension. Linda's eyes filled with tears, but they looked rehearsed, like she'd practiced crying in a mirror. I was desperate, she finally whispered. Robert left me with nothing but debts. I just needed a little help. My anger boiled over. So you stole from me at his funeral? She flinched, but I wasn't done. You used his death as a cover to rob me. How could you? What followed was a confession that unraveled years of lies. Linda admitted she'd been dipping into Robert's accounts for years, racking up credit card debt he never knew about. When he died, she panicked, knowing the truth would come out. My purse was just an opportunity, a quick fix to keep up her lifestyle. She swore she'd pay me back, but her promises felt hollow. Tom was devastated, his trust in his mother shattered. He stood up, his voice breaking. You're my mom, but this is unforgivable. We left her house in silence, the weight of her betrayal heavy between us. Over the next few weeks, I got my money back, but the emotional toll lingered. Tom and I talked late into the nights, wrestling with what to do. He wanted to cut her off completely, but I couldn't help feeling a sliver of pity. Linda was alone now, her carefully curated life crumbling under the truth. Still, pity didn't erase the hurt. I couldn't trust her, and I wasn't sure I ever would. The wedding was still months away, and I lay awake wondering what kind of family I was marrying into. Could I forgive Linda for Tom's sake? Could I walk down the aisle knowing she'd be there, her smile hiding who knows what? The funeral had exposed more than just her greed. It had shown me the fragility of trust, how easily it can break, even in the people closest to you. In the end, we decided to keep our distance from Linda, at least for now. Tom needed time to process, and I needed space to heal. But the questions lingered, haunting me like the rain that day at the funeral. What makes someone betray those they love? Is it desperation, greed, or something deeper? And can a family ever mend when trust is stolen? I share this story not to shame Linda, but to make sense of it, to find some lesson in the pain. Maybe it's about boundaries or the courage to face hard truths. Maybe it's about love not just for others, but for yourself, enough to stand up when you're wronged. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What would you have done? Was I too harsh or not harsh enough? Share your perspective, because I'm still searching for answers. Interim.